Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Take One Podcast, episode 153. I am your host, August C. Jones, and today's episode consists of the new Zack Snyder Justice League trailer that just dropped on Sunday, as well as I'm covering the news about Gina Carano, and as well as some other things, other reviews and everything that nature and all that stuff. But just not to waste too much time, let's go ahead and get right into it. So how I'm going to be doing the podcast now is that I'm going to be doing it in segments. So starting off, let's start off with the main topics, which we have two main topics. And the first one is the Zack Snyder's Justice League trailer that just dropped. So my thoughts. That was a pretty good trailer. It wasn't anything extravagant, extraordinary, but it did put my hype level a little bit, up there. I'm already hyped to see this movie. I even back when I heard about all the stuff that Zack Snyder had planned for the Justice League movie that seemed at the time that would never have been made, I was like curious to like what would have been, what could have been. And now since we're getting it, I'm even more just like really giddy about wanting to see this movie. Especially, it's a 4-hour epic. It's a 4-hour epic, a movie that we've seen before, but with more on top of it. But as far as the trailer goes, we got scenes of Apocalypse with Darkseid and just the kind of like look of Apocalypse. I don't know how much time is going to be spent on there, but we see them in like a hall surrounded by parademons and stuff, and you see freaking Darkseid just looking menacing as hell. And we have the Flash saving Iris scene, which was originally supposed to be in the original Justice League movie, but was removed when Joss Whedon came aboard, and Warner Brothers wanted to switch, change everything around, rewriting and reshooting everything. So that scene ended up getting taken out, which I'm very curious to see like how much of Iris in that relationship with the Flash is going to be injected into this movie, as well as the beginning fight scene is different than the theatrical version that had Steppenwolf up in there. Now it has Darkseid up in there, and I want to see how it differs. I mean, some of the stuff you can see that it's kind of the same, like when Darkseid lifts up his thing up in the trailer, well actually the first trailer, his like axe or whatever, and he comes down on the earth. Steppenwolf did the same thing up in the theatrical version that Joss Whedon was a part of. So I'm curious to see how different it is, But, we've learned that we're going to get more of the nightmare sequence that Batman had. And then in this one, you get Joker at the end of the trailer, which we were told that, Joker was going to be up in this movie. And it was just to what capacity was his role. And just recently they came out and told us to what capacity. He's going to be in a nightmare sequence. He's going to be talking to Batman. And they Zack Snyder came out and said he wanted that interaction just for the simple fact that, we never really got that yet. And you have Joker in this universe that has been established in this universe and Batman in this universe, but we never seen them together interact or anything of that nature. So besides Suicide Squad, but in a sense, they really didn't have any interactions. They were just in the same scene, but no true interaction. But in this movie, we're going to get that, and it shows it. The new look for Steppenwolf, which looks way better than he did in the theatrical version, and I actually like it. And then, like I said, you see Darkseid with Mother Goodness. I believe that's her name, and I forget what the other guy's name was. I'm not a comic book nerd, but you see all three of them inside the chapel or the building that we see Darkseid in, and the fight on Themyscira. I'm believing that it's probably different than what we got in the theatrical versions. More than likely, a lot of it is the same, but just with like a different look of Steppenwolf. But more than likely, a lot of it is different, and it looks to be different. So hopefully, it is a little bit more exciting. And then you got Alfred saying something similar to kind of like an iconic, phrase that he said up in BVS about the rage, the hunger. This is how it starts, And this one he says to Bruce that if you can't bring down the charging bull, then don't go waving the red cape at it. And I wonder what context. I mean, I guess you can kind of like figure out or put together the pieces of what context he's saying that in, but I really want to see where that comes inside the movie. And then you got Superman in the black suit, and just really overall, it just shows like scenes that we haven't seen before in Justice League, so we kind of can put it together. This is a movie that we've already seen, but with more to it. It more than it's really is a director's cut of this movie, and I'm really excited to see it. Like, this didn't put my hype level at like an astronomical number, but at the same time, it got me a little bit more excited to go see it. And it's like, oh, well, not go see it, but to watch it. 4-hour movie. They do put me off a little bit. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to sit down and watch a whole 4-hour movie. You know, that to me looks like weekend watchability. Like, you're gonna watch an hour, maybe a 2-hour here, and then maybe the next day you do the other 2 hours or whatever. I still feel like it should have been a series, but I'll accept it any way they're gonna give it to us. I'm just excited to see what else he has put into it and where they go from here, because as it looks, this looks to be just a standalone, a director's cut. You know, it's nothing more than that. They may end up trying to work it into the main continuity, maybe change it around when Flashpoint, if they ever create Flashpoint, because that's been on the shelves, change directors, writers, and all this stuff. So it doesn't even look like that movie is coming out in my lifetime, you know, at least. But maybe if they end up doing that, maybe that's a way that they can like change everything around to where the Snyder Cut becomes canon and part of the continuity. But we'll see what happens. It is streaming March 18th on HBO Max exclusively, which I would love to see it in theaters. But hey, we get what we can get as far as this goes. But other than that, I really did like the trailer. Really did. So on the second topic for the main topics, I'm going to jump into the Gina Carano thing about her getting fired from Disney. And this is kind of like a controversial thing in itself. This is going to spark up a big conversation about just, was Disney wrong for doing what they were doing? You know, should she stay on board regardless or whatever? But I'm of two minds of it, and I'm going to give my thoughts after I get done going through all this stuff and kind of just going over. I'm not going to go extensively into it because it's a lot more to it, and, you know, just do your research on it. It's crazy. But it basically just centers around controversial social media posts about the election being stolen and that Trump is the legitimate winner, and just like spreading false, you know, accusations and stuff like that, downing the mask mandates during the pandemic, and kind of mocking transgender, making transphobic statements and anti-Semitic memes, and, you know, it's just a lot. She says a lot of insensitive stuff and stuff. It's not the worst thing, but it is kind of unacceptable. But she is a conservative, and so she has conservative points of views. And in doing research for this specific topic, I didn't know that there was a kind of like, I guess you could say, blacklist, or just kind of like a mind frame going toward conservatives in Hollywood, that a lot of Hollywood kind of don't hire those conservatives just based off of their views. And, you know, I'm gonna get into that. I'm honestly get into that. I'm not political. I don't really like mess with too much of the politics, but I mean, to me, it just sounds crazy. But in any case, but it has came out that Disney has given her several chances, more than what they did with James Gunn, with the whole, you know, tweets being dug up and everything else, and them firing him with no warning or any like chances after that, or a chance to apologize or anything. They given her chance at the chance, so it shows that they've learned from their mistakes, not to just go gun ho, start pulling triggers and blah blah blah. That, you know, they gave her a chance, that chance after chance after firing her, and these stem from just tweets that she didn't put out last year. And Disney kept coming to her like, yo, we gonna need you to just calm down on these, you know, because you are basically a representation of us. And they even sat down with her, you know, management agency, or, you know, and just tried to work out something. And it was just, she didn't want to follow the rules. And not long after being fired by Disney, Lucasfilm or whatnot, she was fired by the company that she was with, UTA, United Talent Agency, for basically, I guess, around with basically the same shit. It's like we don't want to associate ourselves with a person like this that constantly do shit like this after we done told you, to not do this or to calm it down or whatever. But not long after that, she announces that she has a new film project with the website Daily Wire for basically like-minded people like herself, and they have came out and said that like we are going against Hollywood. This is a format that people can be on, and they don't have to be afraid about being censored or whatever, and judged for their beliefs. That they can come in here and just do what they want to do, and she seems excited to be working with them, but this all comes around that there was a high possibility that she could have had her own series, or at least headlined a series that was coming out on, Disney Plus, with probably just a Cara Dune series, or she probably could have been the main character for the Rangers of the New Republic series for Disney Plus that they're in development of making. And after these tweets last year, they decided not to announce that during the Investors Day meeting, or the presentation that they put in, because of that. And so it's crazy how she just kind of messed up the opportunity. But like I said, I'm gonna get into it. And also, Hasbro has canceled the line of toys that was basically her figures from the Mandalorian. They sent the email. They basically got in contact with Big Bad Toy Store. And then Big Bad Toy Store send a email to all of the customers that ordered the Cara Dune figure for the Star Wars, I think it's Black Series 6 figure, and told them that there was a cancellation for that specific figure, and that refunds will be issued, but they won't be sending those out. And it's crazy. But then also, on the other hand, you got people that don't want her to be involved with the Mandalorian. They wanted her fired. They even did the hashtag fire Gina Carano. But then you have people on the other side that are for her. Fans of her started a petition on change.org that got over 4,000 signatures. Probably by now they'll reach the 5,000 signature goal, but it was 4,000 out of 5,000 at the time that I did all this research or whatnot. So you can imagine that they're probably filled up right now if they got that damn close. But even Dana White, president of the UFC, came out and really kind of defended her, said, leave her alone. Everybody makes mistakes, blah, blah, blah. And, you got people that's for her, and you got people that's against her, as well as even learning that, she found out with everybody else about being fired. She didn't get called ahead of time or anything else. She found out on social media along with everybody else. So, I mean, with that, okay, so like I said, I'm of two minds of this. So, the kind of like the person I am, I don't like to be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and everything else. Like, I want to be a free bird. Like, I want to like just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, and everything else. No restrictions, no nothing. And that's like with a lot of people. Nobody likes to be held down and being held down creatively from saying what they want to say, and especially with their beliefs. And Gina Carano, she's one of those people. You can tell like she's a strong-minded person. Like, she doesn't back down. As you can tell, like they told her like, calm down, don't say this stuff, and she still said it. But she's like one of those people that she wants to say what's on her mind. Like she's very opinionated. You can kind of get from that. And of course, freedom of speech. Nobody should be censored for what they say. Nobody should be penalized for what they say, unless it's just crazy hate speech. Unless it just incites like violence or harm, to themselves or other people or something like that, then that's when it should come into question. It's like something that's a no-no. But as far as just stating what's on your mind, what your beliefs are, blah, blah, you should be able to say that. You should be able to say it without no penalty, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, as a company with Disney, as big as it is, and everything that they're trying to do with Disney Plus and being in the homes of like just a crazy amount of people, which we're gonna get into those numbers. We're gonna get into that a little bit. But just how Disney is and just the kind of image that Disney puts out, family friendly and everything else. And then with Mandalorian being as big as it is and her being a part of it, it's like you represent, when you're a part of a company like that, no matter what position is, if long as you're in front of the camera and you're playing a significant role like she is, you're a representation of that company. She's a representation of Disney, because a lot of fans, you got to think about it, a lot of fans haven't followed her before seeing her on Mandalorian. A lot of fans are just hip to her now on Mandalorian. So with them being hip to her now, when they see the stuff that she's saying and all that stuff, if they think that it's bad, they're going to associate her with Mandalorian, which associates itself with Disney because it's a Disney property. So when they think of her saying all this stuff, they think of Disney. And as a company, you don't want another person's views being associated with you, especially if you don't have those views, or you don't want those views to be like that because you already know what type of controversy is going to spark up. And that's my whole thing. As a company, I understand why Disney did what they did. Now, they gave her chances. That's the thing. They gave her chances. Saying they're like, don't say this, don't say this. Because even my job, they don't want us talking about the job on social media. It's a lot of jobs like that. A lot of jobs, they search you on social media before hiring you to see what type of person you are. And so it's like your representation. Now, if you're seeing all this crazy stuff online and all this stuff that, just is unfavorable to a lot of people gonna be looking like, Disney, what the fuck? You're gonna be losing a lot of people by doing this. And I mean, it's not gonna be a crazy amount. They ain't gonna lose half their subscriber base or whatever. People ain't gonna stop going to the parks because Gina Carano, she's not bigger than Disney, But in any case, it's like, it's just the image that they want to uphold, and it's like, why keep a person on board that doesn't respect your image? You tell this person constantly, like, okay, stop this, like, just calm this shit down. You're a representation of us. We don't want, that to be a part of it. And so she couldn't constantly, respect their wishes after even telling them that, yeah, she promises not to do it and does it anyway. So it's like, I understand what Disney did, because as a company, I more than likely would have done the same thing. Especially after giving a person chance after chance. Just think of like a child. Your child constantly do stuff, and you tell them, like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. After a while, you're going to have to pull out that belt and whoop and spank some ass. Something going to have to happen. You want to put that child on punishment just so that they'll learn. And I'm not comparing her to a child, but at the same time, it's just like, we've told you and you just disregarded what we said. So there's nothing else that we can do with you. We have to make an example. Like, we have an image to uphold, and we have certain standard of our talent that we have under contract. And it's like, you can't even respect us enough to, kind of like honor our wishes. So, hey, we got to sever ties. And even like Disney is not even thinking about recasting her role, which I will be okay with it. But they just more than likely just going to ditch the character and probably bring in a new character for Mandalorian Season 3. And, of course, do something totally different with the Rangers of the New Republic, which I have no problem with. Her character wasn't that dynamic to where it's like, oh, my God, like, what they're going to do. It ain't no baby Yoda, But, I mean, like I said, I'm of two minds. I respect her for, not backing down how she feels and everything else, and she looks like she's in a position to where she can feel better with what she's doing. Disney, I guess, felt like they limited her and restricted her to like a small bubble, and now this new company, this Daily Wire, is giving her an outlet to where she can say what she believes. She can believe in whatever she want to believe and still be employed. Don't have to worry about shit. So in a sense, it's like she found herself in a great position that she feels more comfortable in, and we can only wish her the best. Like, I don't have anything harsh toward her, although I don't condone the shit that she said, but at the same time, it's like, hopefully she finds a great career, even though this would have been a skyrocketing career move for her if she would have just calmed down the tweets and just did what Disney said and all this stuff. But I mean, you can look at it at two lanes. A lot of people might be like, they didn't see their pride is worth more than just a paycheck or this and that. So hey, I mean, go ahead with your best self. Wish the best for her. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the whole Gina Carano thing. So that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the news feed. So the first thing that I'm going to get into with the news feed is Disney Plus hits a subscriber high. So, man, Disney Plus, I honestly don't get this. I honestly don't get this, but I'm about to just run through it and I'll just get my thoughts on it. So Disney Plus hits 95 million subscribers ahead of expectations, which the goal was set for 2024. Like, to have those many subscribers by 2024, which, shit, they're way above expectations. And a lot of it has to do with the thing of Hotstar, which I believe belonged to Fox. So once they acquired the stuff from Fox, they acquired Hotstar, which is an app that is an international app for them, and it plays a role within the numbers. And these numbers really did increase around the time of Mandalorian Season 2, which I had just discussed. It is a huge show right now, and the Soul premiere of last year. So you can tell, like, a lot of people are really interested in just those properties. From Mandalorian, of course, is a great show, and then Soul was a great movie. So around those times, especially even just during the pandemic, you already know that subscription numbers are going to go up. That it's not going to go down unless you just completely garbage. But also ESPN nearly doubled from a year ago and is at a number at 12.1 million. Hulu now sits at 39.4 million subscribers with 4 million to its live TV bundle, which is crazy. And it shows that, like, the Investor Day meeting really did work, because they're doing, like, a lot of crazy stuff. And this is after getting, like, a huge hit. And I mean, like, I mean that in a bad way, like a huge hit, a $2.6 billion hit to their theme parks due to COVID, which we all know that was just to a lot of businesses. That was just, like, COVID was just crazy. But Investors Day basically was a great move. And I say that because it was one of those things where it's like, this is what we got planned, and everything seemed exciting. The numbers, the shows, and everything that they have planned to do seemed exciting to the point where it's like, it got a person interested. I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of that. And it literally really did work for those people who were involved and watched it and everything else, and who were excited about the upcoming projects that Disney have to offer. Now, the goal that they set is for 230 mil to 260 mil by 2024. They may end up hitting that before then. I don't know. But it's like, the reason why I said I don't get it in the beginning is because, okay, so yeah, Disney Plus, to me, it's not an app that I really find myself on a lot. I might watch a few things on there, or if they have a show like WandaVision, Mandalorian, or whatever, or maybe a movie that I want to see, like Soul or something, I'll end up being on there watching it. I do watch the show So Weird. I love that show. I watch that on there, and maybe even a Marvel film or two or whatnot. But I don't find myself on Disney Plus that often. If WandaVision wasn't on, I more than likely wouldn't be on Disney Plus really in weeks, But I go there every single Friday because I want to watch, the new episode of WandaVision. And then the Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming out, like, right after it. So I'm literally going to be watching Disney Plus every single week to catch those episodes. But when it first started, the only real big property that they had for people really to be excited about it was The Mandalorian. And that was the only thing that came out. Now, I get COVID, had a role in playing with, like, certain things, but it was like a lot of the movies and shows that they came out with were just really stuff that you will find on, Disney Channel. It was stuff that it wasn't really exciting. Nothing that will bring people back to the app unless you have children that loves Disney products and the Disney content and everything else, and you love to watch those old Disney movies and stuff like that, and that's your cup of tea. But they didn't have anything like Mandalorian, like WandaVision, that's gonna get people like me to put eyes on Disney Plus every single week to really like watch that. To go to that app instead of Netflix, instead of this and that. They don't have products like that, at least for right now. And that's what made the Investors Day call, or the announcement so exciting, because it shows that a lot of, not even just the movies, but shows that they are going to be putting, the streaming, they call it direct to consumer model in effect. And COVID really just kind of like steamrolled it, just kind of like pushed it along and right ahead of schedule. More than likely they're going to roll it out slowly and just kind of build up to it. But now it's like, this is the perfect time. Let's go ahead and just go straight forward with it. Let's just let's just go ahead and hit it. So, but I had a big problem just with like Disney Plus. It was like, is it really worth having? But obviously I myself, and maybe in a sense a handful of people, really had that sentiment, because with the number growth that they've had, and a lot of people probably didn't really care to even watch the Investors Day announcement when it was on, because it was like a 3-hour thing. It was like you still got people that are constantly jumping on board, getting Disney Plus, even if it's the bundle with ESPN and Hulu like I got. You got people that are still invested in watching what they're doing with Disney, and it's just crazy. Like, I mean, I guess they're doing everything right. I can't even complain. It may not be in my favor, at least right now. It's slowly building up with Mandalorian and the Mandalorian seasons and WandaVision now, and now Winter Soldier, and everything looking like it's starting to get a little bit better as far as like the content that I want to personally watch, the new content that I want to personally watch. But yeah, I mean, hey, there's nothing to frown at. It's nothing to frown at. I'm glad that they're doing good, and hopefully they find an avenue to where they are, as far as content, just as big as, I'm talking about like new content, just as big as like, Netflix and how they be dropping down stuff and everything else. But in any case, that will wrap up my thoughts for that. So let's go ahead and jump right into the next thing with the news feed, which is Disney is adamant about keeping Black Widow as a theatrical release. And as you can tell, there's a lot of Disney stuff going on up in this podcast. But in any case, so Bob Chapek said on Thursday during an investors call that we are going to be watching very carefully to see whether the strategy needs to be revisited as far as sending it to Disney Plus for premiere access, like they're doing with Raya and the Last Dragon, and like they did with Mulan, or just maybe even possibly just straight sending it, or maybe even doing a hybrid, thing like they are doing with Raya in the Last Dragon. Because if you remember with Mulan, they just sent it straight to Disney Plus as far as like premiere access. So you had to pay $30 to watch it, and now Raya and the Last Dragon, you get the option. You pay $30 to watch it on Premiere Access on Disney Plus, or you can go to the movie theaters and watch it. And they might end up doing either one of those two things with Black Widow, or just may keep it as a theatrical release. But as of right now, they're trying to keep it as a theatrical release. And the factors that made craft their decisions are the number of theaters that are open, as well as demand for a theatrical experience. Which I don't know how they're going to count the theatrical experience, or the demand for it. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of people would love to see this in the movie theaters. But then you still got a lot of people that still being cautious, that won't even step into a movie theater. Like my brother, he won't even step into a movie theater. He would rather watch, if it's a hybrid, he will watch it on whatever streaming service it is. And me, I would go to the movie theaters. But I don't know. Like, I honestly feel like it should still be in theaters, but right now they're getting close to it being kind of like a hard possibility to keep it as a theatrical release because so much stuff is tied to it. Like, they have an order in which they need to drop these films and series that they can't literally drop Black Widow, in theaters next year, and then the movies that was supposed to come out of it after it drop it before. Like, everything has to be in order because more than likely Black Widow sets up for the Eternals. The Eternals probably set up before like Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man Homecoming 3, whatever the title is going to be called. So it has to be set in that specific order. So after a while, it's gonna have to be to a point where they can't wait. So they're gonna have to make a decision on whether they want to do, like, send it exclusively to theaters, exclusively to Disney Plus with Premier Access, or do the hybrid. So it's either gonna be one of those. But the movie is to be released May 7th of this year. They may end up bumping it back a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see what's happening. But yeah, it's just with it being tied to other Marvel movies is making it extra harder to kind of like really make a decision. It's like, in a sense, they're gonna have their hands tied. Like, they can't do anything else but release it and do this with it. But we'll see. I'm definitely am really wanting to see this movie. But the last thing within the news feed is that Marvel just announced that they're coming out with a new show called Assembled, which is a series that is going to drop after a major movie or a major show come out. Like, the first episode of, Assembled is going to be based on WandaVision, the behind the scenes, the making of it, and everything else. Kind of similar to what they do with the Mandalorian, because after the Mandalorian premieres, they have a docu series about the making of it, the behind the scenes goings on about it, and everything else. And it's not like a weekly thing, like I said. So more than likely, the first episode is going to drop after WandaVision, and then Falcon and Winter Soldier going to come after that. And then after Falcon and Winter Soldier's done, then they're going to drop it about that. And then more than likely, when Black Widow premieres, however they're going to do it, they're going to drop another one about the going on behind the scenes and stuff behind that. But yeah, it's all about the Marvel movies and shows, or the MCU movies and shows, and behind the scenes. And like I said, the first episode will premiere March 12th, a week after the finale of WandaVision and a week before the premiere of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And yeah, I'm very curious to watch this, because if you're watching WandaVision, there's a lot of stuff to unpack within that show. I talked about the last episode about the whole depression and everything else, and just how they just have different layers that they're peeling off of this show, because it's more or less just a mystery throughout this show and everything else. And I just want to know what was the mind frame going into this, because they had to have really like just dove into this and just really put like a lot of just thought within developing this show, because it has a lot to unpack. It really does. The symbolism in the shows and everything that's going on, the mystery, what's happening, and all that stuff, where the concept even came from. I mean, I know it's based off of the House of M, but just the concept of constructing a dome over a town and then having a TV show, it's like that. I don't know, like, I would love to see where that all came from, but that show is more than likely going to cover it, and hopefully it does. And I will be excited to watch this and see what it's all about. Hopefully it's not boring. Hopefully it's something exciting. And I don't know how long it's going to be. It may be a 30-minute show. It may be an hour show or whatnot. But, I mean, more than likely it's going to cover a good amount of the show, of just the idea that went behind WandaVision. And I can't wait to check this out. It looks like it's going to be awesome. Right? So, but yeah, like I said, it premieres March 12th after the finale of WandaVision. So if you're interested in it, go ahead and check it out. If not, then, just wait till Falcon and Winter Soldier and just go from there. And so that ends everything off the news feed. So let's go ahead and jump right into reviews. So on this part of reviews, I'm going to be reviewing three things, which is the first is going to be the Liam Neeson film, The Marksman. And since the whole podcast is mainly Disney orientated, especially the whole Gina Carano thing, we're going to be talking about the Mandalorian Season 2. Yay! And then we're going to talk about the latest show that premiered on Netflix, which is called Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, which has a very, very chilling ass subject matter, which I am going to be getting into. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the first review. So The Marksman is about a retired military, or who's ex-military, and he ends up finding himself just down on his luck, where he's about to lose his ranch and his wife died recently, and he just needs to find a break until he ends up coming across a woman and her child who are on the run from the cartel, and the mother ends up dying, which leaves him to protect this little kid and get him to safety away from the cartel. So he goes on a chase to get away from it while trying to, protect this child. But this movie, I could say that it is a Liam Neeson film. If you like Liam Neeson and the films that he's been making lately, which I'm not saying it in a bad way, but he kind of have similar films, kind of similar characters and everything else. But if you like the films that he's been making the past years, then you're more than likely going to like this, because it's very similar to those films. And it has like Liam Neeson, he's a relatable character. He is a likable character. He's a person who's down on his luck. He's not full of all this stuff as far as money and everything else. And his wife died, so he's dealing with the loss of that, the grief. He's still kind of going through it. And he's a real, like I said, a real likable character, real relatable. But what I do really like is the relationship with the boy and Liam Neeson's character and their interactions. The interactions come off very, like genuine and organic, and it comes across funny at times because of just certain how they interact with each other. The bad guy of this film, very generic bad, and it's kind of okay, because he's not the main guy. He's not like top of the echelon. He's not the top branch guy. He's literally just a soldier who's sent on a mission to get him, kind of like a Terminator, and it's like you honestly really don't care about him. He's a kind of a villain that's like there, and he's constantly being there. He's constantly finding out where they are. So he's constantly there, and you just want to do away with him. And that's the kind of like, I ain't gonna say good thing, but that's the only thing that he really has to offer, is that as a bad guy, he is a kind of good bad guy in that sense, but not good in the sense of development and having more to him, more layers. He's really just a generic ass bad guy with no backstory, no character development. It's just, he's there. He's there to be that complication in their, in getting this kid to safety. And they do have some character developments of the mains, like I explained with Liam Neeson's character. The action scenes are pretty good. The acting is pretty good as well. And I know I've heard about this whole white savior thing that's like a lot of movies tend to do. I don't really subscribe to that, only because what if Denzel Washington was up in here? It's like, it would still be like the same movie. You have a person who has these particular set of skills, who is protecting a child from the cartel. So when it comes down to it, it's like white savior, whatever. I don't know. I just don't subscribe to it. You can put any race of person in Liam Neeson's role, and it still more than likely will be the same. So I don't care too much for that. But all around, it is a generic action film, I guess, if you can label it that, with nothing new or extravagant to present, and it is easily just a film that you should have no rush to go see. You could check it out at your leisure. If it comes out, early to, VOD or whatever, you want to check it out then. It's not a bad movie, but it's not a great film. but I mean, it's worth checking out. Worth, at least seeing if you like it. Okay, I didn't put this in there when I first started recording, but just to let you guys know that this review for The Mandalorian are going to have slight spoilers within it. So if you're kind of skittish about spoilers, go ahead, check it out, and then come back. But it's certain, this review I really honestly couldn't talk about without giving some type of spoilers. So just letting you guys know. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the next review, which is The Mandalorian Season 2. So I already did a review on Season 1. You can go ahead, check that out. I'm going to put it up in the link in the description below. But this season is really just all about Mando getting Baby Yoda, or Grogu as we know him now, to a Jedi. So that's basically his mission all throughout this season, and it comes out very hilarious. This episode, episode 1, really just starts off great, and it definitely carries on throughout the whole rest of the season. And it's kind of a new feel for the second episode with the spiders and all that stuff, kind of like a horror type feel to it. And I actually did really like that. And of course, it still has dope CGI, visuals, and practical effects, especially with Corridor Crews. I don't know if anybody know who Corridor Crew is, but check them out, especially if you like, movies and you're into special effects and, stunt work or whatnot. They do a lot of videos talking about that. And they were, on one of the episodes, they were talking about, just the scene where Mando's ship lands in the water and they have to fish it out, and just how the water and all the visuals came together and looked, how it just, everything just looked realistic. And with them highlighting that for me, I'm like, yeah, they doing their thing as far as the visuals and everything that goes on with this show. And I hope that they constantly keep it going and not just kind of like, okay, man, we're going to lower the budget on this next one to where it kind of looks crazy. And like I said in the beginning of this review, we find out Baby Yoda's real name is Grogu. And like I said, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of like, okay, it's not the best name, but he's an alien, so he's not going to be called Fred or anything. But, it's just, I don't know, I got kind of accustomed to Baby Yoda. I know a lot of people did. I mean, a lot of people still wear the shirts and don't even watch the show and just call it Baby Yoda. It's like, his name is Grogu, Yeah, I like to sound like a nerd for a little bit. But it definitely has some feels to it with the relationship between Mando and Grogu. Of course, that was real major up in the first season, and it carries on into this season. And just the relationship evolves. You can see that Mando is just developing this real big love for Grogu and wants to see him in the arms, or just in just a place where he's safe and he don't have to worry about his safety and everything else, even though it's to the point where he would rather watch him himself. But he knows that he has to let him go at some point or another. And even with Mando doing the unthinkable, just something that he normally wouldn't do, he basically shows his face, and it's all for the love of Grogu, trying to get him back or whatever. And that just shows just how far the relationship has grown between him and Grogu. It grew anyway. But in this season, you do have some new faces. You have Boba Fett, who is just complete badass, and then you have Ahsoka Tano, who is, I believe, in Rebels, in the TV show Rebels. So that's canon to The Mandalorian in the bigger Star Wars universe or whatnot. And she's played by Rosario Dawson. And you got Timothy Olyphant, who has a appearance in the first episode. He does good. He really just plays Raylan Givens from Justified. But yeah, I really like that. And then you got other people. You got the other people reprising their role. Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, damn, oh my god, what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito, that's his name. You got Ming-Na Wen, and we got Bill Burr making an appearance up in this season, which he actually has a good part as far as his episode goes. But as far as Ahsoka Tano, she's just an incredible character. especially in this season with the samurai episode that she's a part of, and just how it was constructed. Like the episode itself is extremely dope. I really did like that episode, and I just liked her character. I'm not familiar with her character from Rebels, but I actually, since they are coming out with a Ahsoka Tano show, this is kind of like a how can you put it, like a kind of like a soft opening or soft just kind of like introduction to that show. So more than likely it's going to carry on through there, especially since Thrawn is thrown into the mix and everything else. So you can tell where her whole arc and her show more than likely is going to be about, and who the villain is and everything else. But I really did like her appearance, as far as just her whole overall presence within the episode that she was in. And I did like the whole style switch of just the from the space sci-fi western that they usually kind of go for, and now it's turned into this samurai type feel and style and all that stuff. I kind of did really like that episode. Boba Fett has a small role, but he is just a complete badass. Just complete. Especially when he finally gets on his suit, like he just starts whooping ass like it's nobody business. And I did really like the team up with him and Mando. It was just something to really experience. Bill Burr as Mayfield is he's very interesting in this season with the evolution of his character. In episode 7, he really does shine during the conversation that he's having with one of his old superiors when he was working for the Empire and everything else, and just the kind of like how his ideals, what he thought was right and wrong, goes against what they thought was right and wrong, and then the conversation gets like intense, and just the way it builds up until it just can't be contained anymore. I really did like that. That was one of those experiences that was just like, yo, this they know what they're doing when they was constructing this show. Like that scene alone just shows the care that they take within to it. And Moff Gideon is still intimidating as a force, as a figure within this show, and he comes off just as a great villain. Like, I mean, like the guy Giancarlo Esposito, he just comes off really good as a villain, period. Whatever show he's in, whatever movies he's in, he plays good as a villain. Like I can see him as a good guy, but if I was putting a movie together and I needed a villain that was kind of like fitting like how he is, I most definitely would pick him as the villain. Like I can't see him, like, I don't know, like it's just he plays a villain good as hell, and he was a great addition to this season, as well as the Dark Troopers that he presents up in there, and it's kind of like have like a Terminator feel to it, and I really did like that. And then of course it has a lot to do with the Dark Saber. Has heavily, like it's different people are looking for the Dark Saber. You come across other Mandalorians who are definitely looking for the Dark Saber, and they're equally as badass as Mando up in this season, and I really did like their presence. And also you learn a little bit more about the lore of the Mandalorians, and that they don't usually keep on their mask all the time like Mando does. They will take off their mask. Like it's not anything like disrespectful. It's not anything that's like against the code or the way. It's like that's just something that a certain order of Mandalorians do, as opposed to another order of Mandalorians. And I did like that. And we're also introduced to my baby, my future wife, Sasha Banks, who has her acting debut outside of WWE, and she just looks beautiful, sexy, gorgeous, all that shit just rolled into one. Just beautiful as ever. That's all I can really say. And her appearance in this show, she's one of the Mandalorians that Mando comes across, and her role is very minimal, but she does do a pretty decent job with it in the role. And Luke Skywalker does make an appearance in this season, but the deep fake that's done with his character isn't the greatest, and it does stand out like a sore thumb. I feel like Sebastian Stan should have been brought in, and they could have played with his face a little bit to make it look more real. But it's just we get what we get. Because he does look very similar to Mark Hamill. He really does. Just go look up the pictures and you'll see he looks very similar to him. And I know others have said it, but wholeheartedly, like Luke Skywalker's like appearance and him how he comes in and saves the day is very similar to Vader's appearance in Rogue One and how he just starts fighting and everything else, which I don't think that was a mistake. I believe that was intentionally done. But as far as Grogu goes, it's like now that he's not a part of the show, or at least that we know now, it's like, what are they going to do for the third season? Because one of the main things about season 1 and season 2 was the relationship between Mando and Grogu. So without that, like, where are you going to go? Especially with how big Baby Yoda Grogu was. It was like, where do you go from there? Is he going to come back? Is something going to happen to where Grogu ends up back in the care of Mando? Maybe, possibly. But that was one of the emotional selling points of the first 2 seasons. So it's kind of like where they're going to go from there. But as far as this season go, it is better than the first season. I really did enjoy it. I really did like it. Disney is really killing it when it comes to The Mandalorian and what they're doing with it, with just a splash of just everything that they're trying to do. And I'm very curious to see where they're going to go with this third season. And yeah, like if you aren't watching Mandalorian, even if you're not a fan of Star Wars, you can cut on Mandalorian and end up really liking it. I really highly suggest you guys check it out, because you may end up finding yourself liking it. If not just for Baby Yoda, or if not just for just everything else, for Baby Yoda. I don't know how you're going to feel after this season, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I really did like it. So if you're not caught up, or if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and check it out. Alright, and so let's go ahead and jump right into the last review, which is Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. Now, this show, the 4 episodes that it provides for us, is really just circling around the disappearance of Elisa Lam, but it does give a clear backstory as to the circumstances surrounding her death or whatnot. And I'm not going to give away too much. I'm not. I really do want y'all guys to check it out, especially if you haven't even heard of it. But it's basically just giving a inside and out, like, just look at just the hotel from its inception all the way to now, and just how it went from being something, a place where, a good hotel, a luxury hotel, all the way to like how it got its reputation and why and everything else, to housing murderers, rapists, and drug dealers, and just people that maybe not have the greatest intentions or whatever while staying there. And then even being located in an area that's really just populated by homeless people. And it's just, it literally has it's a mixing pot of not all the best ingredients, And they talk to the former manager, get her experiences on the whole place and with the reputations and, just everything that she witnessed there, and just goes through the tenants that stayed there, because it doubled as a place where kind of like, people can actually stay, like it's an apartments building, as well as just people coming in from out of town or just need a cheap hotel to stay at and can be there. And even Richard Romero's stayed there. Richard Ramirez had stayed there during some of his murders, and it's extremely crazy how this place actually stayed in in operation with all this craziness going on. But like I said, that's all just the backstory, just circling around the whole vanishing, like I said, within the title of Elisa Lam. And Elisa Lam is just a girl who came in from out of town, stayed at the hotel, and ended up, disappearing. And it was a hunt trying to figure out what the hell happened to her. And the show goes down to possibilities from murder to suicide to even something supernatural, And it goes there, and it looks at like some of the suspects that were possibly involved with it, if it was a murder or whatnot. And it shows how the public was just heavily involved within the footage that got leaked. And the footage is the most famous thing about it, besides, the reputation or whatever. because the police leaked out the footage to try and see if they can get, some outside fresh, points of view on the footage. And if you've seen the footage is haunting as hell. Like, I honestly can't sit and look at the footage. Even now, it's just weird. She's in the elevator. She's doing weird thing. The elevator door don't close. You don't know if she's being pursued by somebody or she's seeing something, paranormal, or she's just having a psychotic break. Like, it literally, the show covers a lot about her. Like, it covers the stuff that I knew, and it also covers the stuff that I didn't know. So I'm literally like watching this show, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know this. Like, this is like interesting. Like, as it's progressing and as it's moving along, I'm just getting all this new information, and it's like it puts me in a mind frame of like getting a better understanding of the whole situation, and even look to the fact of like that was every possibility seems plausible for what happened to her. And it's like I'm struggling trying to figure out what I can put in this review, because if you haven't heard about this, I really don't want to give it all away. So I'm not going to give too much away of like just kind of like the results of everything. But yeah, it covers every detail, and I really did like that, as well as like certain conspiracies. Like, they point out a big kind of like coincidence. Like with the I'll just say that it has something to do with the TB testing, and just the coincidence of it with Elisa Lam. And it also brings to light a movie called Dark Water that came out in 2003, and the resemblance of just the events that happened in that movie to what happened to Elisa Lam. Like, it's crazy. It's extremely crazy how everything just kind of like in a sense like coincidentally matches up. It's crazy, but I really did like the show. I love that it covered a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I love that they had other perspectives of like what happened and everything else, so it gets you on the thing of like you coming up with your own kind of like opinion, like what do you think actually really happened. And you see like certain people outside of the investigation, not the cops, but the people, the public, the internet, literally dissecting the video and pointing out little details that more than likely the police didn't really point out. And it's crazy. It honestly is crazy how invested people were into it, and just the popularity that this case got. Like, it's weird. But if you haven't seen it, go ahead, check it out. Beforehand, you may want to check out the footage. Like, it's creepy as hell. Don't watch it at night, but it is informational, and it's done pretty well. So I really did enjoy it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the whole thing revolving around this show. Highly recommend you guys check it out. And so with that said, that ends this podcast, and I like to thank you guys for checking it out. And just go ahead, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you ain't. Hit the notification bell for more stuff. And yeah, I hope to see you guys on the next one. Like I said, I hopefully be able to have this out, the podcast that is, on a specific day, specific time. That way you guys will know when it's dropping and everything else, and know when to anticipate it. And yeah, that's it. So I will catch you guys on the next one. So peace out.